Okay, a couple of the reports that I want to point out for you guys. In the reports, there's an alerting section, and alerts has a few different reports in it. Configured alerts will show you what is configured on a particular device or devices. So this is designed to be able to basically export, here's who's set to get the host contact, here's all the thresholds that are set, here's all the service checks that are configured, and who is set to get alerts for those different groups, and all of those parameters around that particular system or systems. So the configured alerts is designed to show you, okay, who's actually set to get alerts on this particular device. And it lets you go through and look at all of those different settings. The incidents will let you drill into the history of all of the incidents in the tool, or go in and filter for specific incidents. So I can look for, all of the open incidents in the last 7 days, for example, and pull those incidents up and go in and drill for the history of that particular incident. And if you look in the state log, you'll see exactly what happened on that incident. So for example, if I go in here and look for closed incidents, you'd be able to see that some of these are going to have, more log states. It went into an open state here, it got the alarms cleared state here, and then a few minutes later, it completed that alarms cleared timer and moved into a closed state. And you can see that the recovery went from a critical state to a warning state. And for thresholds, a warning is a recovery state because only criticals can keep incidents open. So even though that setting is still in a warning state, it's no longer an open incident. The incident itself will close and it will send out notifications based on that. The incident ID is unique to this incident, so it allows me to use that as a search criteria. It's included by default in all of the different alarms that go out. If you know the incident you're looking for, you can search for it by number and pull it up directly that way. History logs and threshold history both show everything that OmniCenter has noticed about a system. So for example, if I just go in here and select, let's say I select a strategic group that has all my infrastructure devices in it, it will pull up everything that it's noticed on any of those infrastructure devices over that period of time. So these reports can be quite large. And the idea is that everything, whether or not it became an incident, will be logged here. So you can see here, actually, I've got some soft ping states here that looks like they recovered before they generated a critical message. So they started to go bad, but then they recovered during that recheck process. So it will allow me to go in. And again, this is a live search. So if I want to go in here and say, I need to look at just what happened on Chai Linux, you can filter that report out. And you can see here, it went critical based on a packet loss of 100%, but then it recovered at the first recheck, so it went into an okay state. It did not escalate into a hard state that would have generated notifications. So if you're looking for intermittent problems or things that might be causing issues, but that you're not getting alarmed on, the history log is a great place to go and look and see if OmniCenter saw anything regarding that particular incident, not just what it sent out notifications on based on those rechecks. And you can look at those for both history as well as for thresholds. So the basic history log is for all of the service checks and host states, and then the threshold history will be based on threshold states. The notification log will actually show you the ones that got to the point where OmniCenter needed to take an action that included telling somebody about it. And the notification log allows you to basically go in and identify, who got notified on all of these different incidents, if anyone. So if no notifications went out because they weren't set to notify, the notification logs would be empty, but it'll also allow you to see if there are specific, notifications, who they went to, when they went out, what email was sent, all of that kind of stuff will all be based on the notification logs. The notification logs also have a summary report option, and this allows you to go in and run those notification logs, but to summarize by a specific setting. So I can say, for example, which devices are generating the most alerts, or which thresholds are causing the most problems, and it actually gives you some insight into where you might want to start tuning when you're looking at, okay, I'm getting too many notifications, I need to cut this down. Who's the noisiest bird? Who's making the most noise and needs to be dealt with? Some of the other reports that are built in, these are all kind of pre-canned reports. You can go in and select options for them. For example, the strategic group health will show you for your different application groups how those devices have performed over a particular time period. And you can set a time frame. So if you have some systems that only need to be up during regular business hours versus after hours versus 24/7, you can filter those out. But it basically will give you a health report, and the health report will show you what percentage of your devices are having problems and whether those problems are getting better, they're staying the same, or they're getting worse. So the inner part of the donut represents the percentage of services that were in a particular state, okay, degraded, or critical. And then in that state, what percentage of those services are improving versus staying about the same versus actually getting worse. And you can see what the trend is here. Looking at the trend indicator, it'll show you this month of this report, in this case April, versus the previous month. So in this one, I can see for this device, the service checks were only okay 72.98% of the time, but that's actually 5.12% better than they were the previous month. So that's kind of the information that this particular report gives you. The pre-canned reports are all designed to give you some interesting insights into the data and to be pretty straightforward and easy to run. The top talkers report is one of the more powerful ones, but also has the most options. So I want to specifically walk you through this report while we have a few minutes left. So in the top talkers report, the first thing it's going to ask you is what is the grouping that you want to run this report on? So it can literally just be everything in the tool, but usually you're going to narrow it down by category or by site or by a strategic group or for a specific set of devices. I want to be able to go in here and look at all my remote routers, and I want to pull up information on their bandwidth utilization, for example. So it kind of walks you through the process of selecting, okay, what exactly are you looking for? Is it inbound? Is it outbound? Is it both? When you get to this point, it's going to generate a prototype so that you can look to see if this looks about right as far as the data that you're getting. And if so, click the filter button. The filter button then expands those open again, but also gives you additional options. So I can change the timing of these reports, and I can even change the format and how they're displayed. So histograms is going to draw a separate graph for each value. Table is just a table. Bar graph is pretty straightforward. Stacked histogram is going to sum the values together. So if I'm running a report, for example, on a port channel interface, this might be a really interesting view to get to see how much traffic is going through each of those different interfaces. Or it can also be a line format graph. And I can draw them all independently on each other instead of stacking them and look for correlations in the data this way. Once you've got this report looking the way you want it, you've got the option, again, to save it as a favorite, to download it as a PDF, to send it as an email, or to even create a custom report based on it. So the Top Talkers gives you some powerful functionality in terms of getting the data that you want out of a particular report and then automating that report to be able to get it daily, weekly, or monthly at any given interval. And so you've got some very powerful capabilities there in terms of visibility into the device. Uptime comes in two flavors. The monthly report is the fastest to run, and it's based on a summary data. So I can go in here and select multiple months if I want to and generate that report. And it'll be based on summary data for these devices. The downside to the monthly report is that the monthly report is only granular down to individual days. So it's perfect for last month, but month to date will be only up to midnight of the day that you run the report. It will not include the current day's data in the summary report. If I run the detailed report allows me to get much more detail and go into different organizations. So I could drill into one particular type of devices, for example, go in for a specific time frame that's less than a month. So if I need more granular reports like last 7 days, I've got the ability to generate reports based on that more granular data with the detail. And the detailed report will give you a breakdown down to the per device level if you wanted of exactly how much time it is spent in each of those different states. Unreachable again is different than critical because unreachable means a device was preventing access to it, not that it itself was down. So it may have been responding, but something between OmniCenter and that device was down, thus blocking access to it. So it'll break those out separately for you. And if you click on one of these, it'll actually take you to a history that'll show you, here's all of the different host states that occurred during that time. So you've got a detailed log of all of the different start stop times, when it was up, when it was down, how long it was in each of those states. You kind of got a detailed list of that, and you can export that as a CSV if you need to. So that's the main difference between the detailed and the monthly uptime reports. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your time. I will make a copy of the recording of this training available so you guys can review it. We also have, if you go to our documentation site, there's a training options link. On that training options link is a link to a video library where it covers a lot of individual topics that we talked about in this training. So if there's a specific thing that you want to refresher on, there's a whole library of little short 5-minute videos that cover that sort of stuff. And then If there's additional questions that you have, feel free to reach out to support, and they're more than happy to address those with you. Thanks for your time, everyone, and have a great day.